Greetings, everyone. When last we were following the X-Men, they were becoming more and more concerned about the Locust and his gigantic insects. Professor X begins to suspect that Dr. August Hopper is the man behind these strange insect infestations. And he learns that Dr. Hopper is an employee at Ryan Chemicals. And so that's where we find Professor X. He is at the multi-million dollar plant which employs Dr. August Hopper. And the Professor X is a faithful visitor. All right, Mr. Hamilton introduces himself. He's the plant supervisor. He says, "I'm sorry, Dr. Hopper isn't here, but he left yesterday on a short leave of absence. I'm sure he would have been honored to meet an authority on mutants such as yourself, Professor Xavier." And Professor politely replies, "The pleasure would have been mine, Mr. Hamilton, but do you suppose I could see his laboratory?" That's a pretty bold request. And Mr. Hamilton says, "Well, he's usually very possessive about it, but I'm sure it will be all right in your case." Minutes afterward, in the lab which the ambitious entomologist utilizes for his sinister studies, Hamilton says, "This is Dr. Hopper's castle, almost his home. Sometimes he doesn't leave it for days on end. He's extremely reluctant to let others enter it at those times, and in view of the truly fantastic pesticides he has developed, we try to respect his wishes." "I see," answers the professor, "and you have no idea where I could contact him now?" Look at these bugs that are kind of on display. "I'm afraid not. His contract provides for such leaves of absences, during which he usually takes along his mobile lab. In fact, for all we know, he may be investigating those reports of mammoth locusts near here." Professor says, "A comforting thought, Mr. Hamilton," but then he thinks, or is it? I wonder. My mental probing of some of Dr. Hopper's equipment is beginning to reveal some very interesting discoveries. And here there are several canisters missing, canisters which the labels say contained locust eggs. Could it be that Dr. Hopper has a far more integral, far more personal part in the menace of these rampaging insects than anyone has suspected? Well, of course, we have suspected it all along, but we're watching behind the scenes. Then, as the invalid mutant turns his attention to a previously unnoticed wall, he sees that map. It may just be the clincher. Look, there's a big X here and smaller X's here. That large X pinpoints the area where the locust swarm appeared, and there are other X's indicated as well. Out loud, he says, "I believe I've seen enough, Mr. Hamilton, if you'll just show me the way out." "Certainly, Professor. Still, I'm sorry you couldn't meet Dr. Hopper. He's a brilliant man, despite his somewhat unbelievable theories about insect mutation. I hope the matter you wanted to talk with him about wasn't too urgent." No, not really. In fact, I think I've learned all I need to know." And then he thinks, "I can't wait to return to the school. I must contact the X-Men now." And sure enough, he sends out a thought blast. "Attention, X-Men, prepare the helicopter for a mission as soon as we return." It's the professor. And Scott just thinks back, "We'll be ready and waiting, sir." And Jean says, "I've only been away a few days, but it'll be great to get into costume again. Must make all deliberate haste, Bobby boy." Soon, when Professor Xavier and Warren returned from their productive excursion, the professor explains, "In addition, I mentally examined some of Dr. Hopper's latest formula and found they contain ionic particles which would tend to stimulate growth. So although we can't be positive, I suspect that Dr. Hopper may be responsible for the insect plague. And you say his map makes you believe that the Corn Belt may be the next section attacked? Yes, I only hope we're in time to prevent any damage this time. A few hours later, the copter approaches and says, there's the upper Ohio River. Okay, Ohio, that's where Uncle Truett lives. We must be approaching the area you mentioned, Professor. Yes, Scott. In fact, I just monitored a radio broadcast which reports huge locusts just a few miles south of here. We'll land a short distance away in case any military forces have reached the scene. Then after a landing is made, crunch, they hear this sound. Listen, the creatures must be right over that ridge. But remember, if their human leader appears, it is he who must be battled first. And this time he might be expecting us. Keep your guard up, Mr. McCoy. A most superfluous exhortation, Mr. Blake. That's Iceman and the Beast. There they are, says the angel, but there are dozens of them this time. What can we do against them? The same thing as last time, angel, but this time we've got to do more of it. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Boy, look at those locusts lined up and eating all that grain. Uh-oh, says Iceman. Take a look at your right, Psych. This has got to be the guy we're looking for. And there he is. Correction, my superpowered simpletons. Rather, it is I who have been waiting patiently for you. For in defeating you, I shall demonstrate the folly of opposing the Locust. All right, he's kind of imposing for such a crazy-looking super foe. Look, mister, says Cyclops, we don't know exactly what you're trying to accomplish with these grasshopper pals of yours, but we're here to put an end to it. Presumptuous fool, do you think I would have appeared before you if I were not prepared to dispose of you? The only disposing you're going to do, Locust, is to get rid of that nutty costume. Whack. Or wait, Claude, you shall be the first to feel the bite of the Locust. Oof, says Cyclops. He caught me off guard. All right, group, our bug-eyed buddy has opened the hostilities. Now it's time for the noble Beast to get into the act. So the Beast bounds into the view. And the Locust says, you seem more agile than your cowled companions. However, agility is no avail if you can't grasp your antagonist. What? He spread his wings and took off. And so the Locust uses those wings. They're not just for show. Beast says, it's up to you now, Angel. It's no contest, Beast. His mechanical wings are no match for my real ones. Locust thinks he's right. It'll take him mere seconds to overtake me, but the victory can still be mine. Suddenly, my creative genius also developed this ionic stun device to keep any rebellious insects in line. However, it seems to work on angels as well. Frap! Angel says, I'm receiving a terrific jolt from that gizmo. I can't stay aloft. Locust has a lot of weapons at his command. But as the stricken X-Man topples helplessly from the sky, another mutant comes to his aid. Thanks, Marvel Girl, says Angel. My pleasure, Angel. I'm only sorry I didn't get a shot at the Locust. Stick around, fair lady. Your opportunity may come soon. Sooner than you think, Beastie. He's fluttering to the earth not 50 yards away. Jean, could you tell if that masked creep is the Dr. Hopper you saw? I can't be positive, but from the beard and the voice, I'm pretty sure it is. Well, she should be. That beard. Nice looking beard. Very distinctive. You two come along as fast as you can. Beast, Iceman, the three of us must attack him before he escapes. Angel says, I wouldn't want to be in Locust's shoes. Sykes, fighting mad. One optic blast ought to put you out of commission. Zat. No good. He's wearing some sort of super strong armor. Of course, you overrated clowns. And but look, Iceman is busy over here. Attaboy, Locust, just keep talking. I'm shielded from your puny ray by my exoshell, an improved version of the insect's exterior skeleton, so that, whoosh. Tell us more, pal, as soon as you make yourself comfortable, on my sheet of ice, that is. So he slips on the ice and falls to the ground. Blasted, I can't get my footing. I must summon help. What's he up to now? His antennae, they're starting to glow. And then they hear a thought blast from Professor X. X-Men, condition red. There's a creature approaching behind you. Wow! The Locust has not only locusts, but also a big beetle. Look out! It's some sort of gigantic beetle. Marvel Girl and I caught up with the rest of you just in time to join a retreat. Tell you what, Warren boy, if you tackle him by your lonesome, I won't stand in your way. We're only falling back to regroup, Angel, not retreat. We can't just run away from Locust playmates forever. There's too much at stake. Alas for the benign beast, I who even doff my mask to ladybugs. Meanwhile, the hooded Dr. Hopper makes good use of his brief respite. Look, he's got a flashlight that glows red. It's fortunate that I had enlarged that carnivorous beetle in advance just for such an emergency. Now for my second little surprise for the vaunted X-Men. I had planned to hatch these eggs in cattle breeding country, but I could always activate others. These monstrous wasps should keep my foes busy for a while. Zzz. And thanks to my micromagnetic antennae, not only am I safe from them, but I can also direct their movements. And so he's kind of like Ant-Man, that he can communicate to the insects nearby. Good going, beast. When the beetle reached for Angel, we nailed him with his king-size icicle. Yeah, says Angel, but why do I always end up the decoy? Zap. Cyclops is zapping the beetle with his eye beam. Marvel Girl says, you two and Cyclops had better finish off that one fast, because here comes some of his cousins. Sure enough, zzz, here comes a phalanx of wasps. We can't fight all those at once, but don't despair, people. The Iceman cometh, as Eugene O'Neill used to say. Less name-dropping and more action, lad. That's for sure. Those babies look hungry. You did it, Bobby. Inside this transparent shell you've created, they can't get at us. We're safe. Yeah, but for how long? It's pretty warm out there, and I can't keep this igloo from melting forever. Zzz. The wasps buzz around. Besides, we can't win the struggle by running away. We've got to capture the Locust. From the look of things, it won't be long before he's ready to launch a full-scale attack on mankind. And he has a lot of insect warriors at his command. Zzz, crunch, crunch, crunch. So all these insects are active right now. But look at this. Feast your baby blues on that. Looks like things are finally starting to go our way again. The wasps, attracted by the noise of the feeding locusts, they're flying off to devour them. And so the wasps are distracted by the locusts. And so that takes the pressure off the X-Men. And Iceman says, all I can say is they deserve each other. Watch out for flying ice, all. I'm blasting our way out of this frigid fishbowl. Now! Bam! Wow, says Iceman. I'm glad you're on our side, Psych. Moments later, as the icy covering falls before Scott Summers' potent eye beams. Okay, says Angel, so we're out. That still leaves the Locust insect buddies for us to waltz around with. Don't be so sure. Looks like the National Guard has taken charge of things here, too. And if they keep that up, we'll be out of work. Professor Xavier seems to feel differently, Beast. He's revving up the copter. Then he must have a lead on the Locust. Let's move out. And as the dauntless X-Men take to the skies once again, an awesome but heartening scene transpires below as the National Guard appears to take care of both the locusts and the wasps and all the insects. All right. These M1s are doing the trick. Just keep firing. They can't take this flamethrower either. But what would we have done if there'd been thousands of them instead of dozens? While passing swiftly over the scene a few hundred feet above, Professor X and his superpowered students are plagued by similar thoughts. Professor says, deprived of the locust's human brain, those giant insects fell prey to modern weapons. But if he hadn't been forced to flee, the story might have been otherwise. What's our next step, Professor? If my memory serves me correctly, I seem to recall that the next X was only about 50 miles from here. We're heading for that spot, but we must allow him to arrive there first. And this time there'll be no quarter. It's the locust or us. Soon as the searching X-copter follows the winding of the placid Ohio River, that trailer is parked in a place where the owner isn't likely to be doing any hunting or fishing. With our luck, it's probably the vanguard of an anti-mutants convention. Still, we must be at almost the exact place which Dr. Hopper had marked on his chart. We'll sit down quietly nearby and have a look. Meanwhile, even as the X-Men's sleek craft lands in a wooded grove, inside the trailer, which serves as a mobile lab, we find the Locust. Already the havoc wreaked by my first creations prepares the world to accept the insect mutation theories of Dr. August Hopper. And soon after more forays by my giant pets in the Corn Belt, I shall step forward to destroy them and receive the acclaim which the world has so long held from me. In addition, because of their offensive meddling, I shall use my newfound influence to turn the people more than ever against the accursed X-Men. But enough talk. The newest batch of eggs should be ionically activated by now, and in greater numbers than either previous time. Oh no, so we're going to have more insects for the X-Men to fight. However, as the Locust steps outside the trailer, he is startled to behold some sort of hermit in the garb of a past century. What is he doing here? And he answers, I have come as a friend to save you from your own folly. Begone, the Locust needs no friends. Every man has need of friends, Locust, whether he realizes it or not. You have chosen to set yourself against humanity. Why? With the power you possess, you could be a benefactor of mankind instead of its oppressor. Why do you choose the course of evil? Babbling fool, what do you or anyone know of the Locust? 1,000 years hence, my name shall be revered when the tombs of kings are but dust. Wow, he's not proud of himself, is he? I feel that you are truly not an evil man, merely a deluded one. Forget your senseless plans and turn your great knowledge to the good of the human race. Forget my plans? No, not while I live. I shall toil no more for the enrichment of others. Zish! And he flies off. The world shall pay homage to me, or my insect hordes will lay waste to it. Wait! Come back! Never! And this time I shall unleash hundreds of ravaging locusts. It's no use. It's up to the X-Men to stop him now. I only pray that if they succeed, defeat will shock him to his senses. Well, have you figured out who our mysterious hermit is with his fake beard, cape, and cane? Of course, it's Professor X, who now has mechanical legs that enable him to walk. Then, as the colorfully garbed scientist flutters to a landing not far away, he sees the X-Men. But how could you have found me so quickly? Trade secret, chum. Maybe we'll write you a letter about it when you're safely in jail. Perfect planning. The professor, in his hermit garb and mechanical legs, got the Locust incensed enough to hop off right into our arms. But no matter, says the Locust, one strong leap will carry me away, and, my apologies, says the beast, but it is essential that you stick around for a short tete-a-tete, that is a face-to-face. That means a heart-to-heart talk, if you're behind in your French lessons. All right, heart-to-heart. Away, you bumbling oaf! I have no time for such delays. Oof! And the Locust takes off, leaving the beast behind. It's becoming obvious this just isn't my day. But at least it may be mine, says the angel. At least this time he's not going to use any stun ray on me. So the winged X-Man clumsily seeks to take me unawares. Doesn't he realize that locusts have great peripheral vision? Here, angel, this cocoon silk, a trait I borrowed from the lowly caterpillar, will stop you in your tracks. And so he shoots out webs just like Spider-Man. And Angel says, I can't stop in time. I'm going to ram right into it. Of course you dolt. Did you think I'd leave such things to chance? Seconds later, as an ensnared angel touches down, that horn-headed do-batter really knows his business. This stuff is like glue. Look, he's coming down again. Yes, but too far away for us to reach him before he can activate some more six-legged terrors. And indeed, even as the X-Men's deputy leader speaks these prophetic words, Locust says, the X-Men have interfered with my plans for the final time. These two eggs, which have been triply treated by ionic particles, will be their downfall. So, what will come out of those two eggs? For the moment has come for my ultimate creations. And he shines his ionic flashlight on them. Oh my! The next instant, before the astonished eyes of the onward rushing mutant band, the Locust says, grow, 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 let not one X-Man survive. They're zooming up right before us, more enormous than any of his other monstrosities. We've got to halt them. Whatever your plan is, Psych, clue us in fast while we're still around. How does a rational person argue with sentiments like those? Suddenly, the resourceful Marvel Girl steps to the fore, and she uses her telekinetic power on his antennae. She thinks his antennae is through them that he controls his creatures, if only I can. So in desperation, the female X-Man hurls herself against me. Do not think to stir my heart to mercy, for still I order my giant subjects to destroy all of you. But they are lumbering towards me. Stop! I, your ruler, command you to stop. And so without his antennae to control them, they're turning against him. It's impossible. Both of my insect creations are attacking me, but I can yet escape. In my mobile lab is an antidote, which will make them small again. Great work, Gene. He didn't see you telekinetically knotting up his antennae. That was a really clever move for Marvel Girl. And without his commands to guide them, the confused beetles attack him. Perhaps because in his locust costume, he so resembles one of the tiny insects they normally prey upon. So they're attacking the locust. We read you, Psych. What do we do to rescue him? It won't take those things long to tear that trailer apart. Angel's right. We've got to help the locust somehow. But before they can suit action to their words, disaster strikes. Snap! The trailer snapped free of the car. It's rolling towards the cliff. We've got to use our powers to stop it. We'll hazard the attempt, but you'll have to forgive me if I'm moderately apprehensive about the ultimate outcome. More power, all of you. The mobile lab is still sliding towards the edge. And so Psych is trying to divert it with his power beams, and Iceman is using his ice. Marvel Girl is using her telekinetic power, and the Beast is trying to hold on. I can't help it, says Iceman. Those blamed bugs are rocking the trailer so much, I can't freeze the wheels solid enough. It's going over, Angel. Try to grab the locust. Fast. And almost as Scott voices his commands, the door opens. The locust comes out. No, no, I can't fly. My wings were damaged. Relax, fella, says the angel, as one flyboy to another. I gotcha. He did it. Warren got him. And so they saved their super foe as the Beatles and the trailer plunge to the river below. My mobile lab, cries the locust. Priceless, irreplaceable equipment, all gone, dashed in the river below. Mister, says Angel, if you don't see how lucky you are, I'm tempted to let you join it. Sploosh! As everything falls into the river. Here comes the hermit again. Yes, Locust, look around and see the error of your path. The X-Men could have let you die, yet they saved you from your own creations. Perhaps, says Dr. Hopper, I understand at last, old man. I have been ill, but I can yet atone for the evil I have caused. Let these devilish devices, my sole remaining magno-ray and stun weapon, join my other inventions beneath the waters. He tosses them into the river. I must surrender to the authorities and pay my debt for the harm I have caused. And Professor X adds, perhaps one day that harm will be more than offset by the good you might accomplish. Then as the solitary costumed figure of Dr. Hopper disappears in the distance, Professor X unmasks himself. He says, I thought that in this guise I could somehow reason with our foe. And Jean says, after this case, I could use a bit of relaxation as a mere college student. And Iceman says, you should have been an actor, Professor. And then the Beast asks, what of Dr. Hopper, Professor? Do you think we'll see more of the Locust? It's impossible to say, Hank. We can only hope that he has learned his lesson permanently. For if the Locust returned, leading an army of giant insects, even we might not be able to stop him. Next issue, who is this menacing figure, and what incredible power does he stand ready to unleash upon an unsuspecting world? All right, this is El Tigre, and he's got something glowing in his hands. We'll find out together in the next issue of X-Men. All right, so we saw the X-Men successfully defeat the Locust and rehabilitate him, and hopefully he's learned his lesson. But there's always another bad guy for the X-Men to face and to save the world from. So we'll be back to see that happen in our next saga of the X-Men. Hope you're having fun. Love you guys. Bye-bye for now.